Hello and welcome to Finance Conversation. This is the 85th episode of the Merging Life and Money Show, and I am super excited to be here today. In fact, today is International Civility for the Girls Child Day. On this day, the world celebrates, support, and promote a girl's right to make her own choice. This day prompts girls to follow the golden rule and achieve whatever they want in life, and motivate us to fight for a world in which girls have the liberty and civility to do whatever they want in life. Welcome to the Merging Life and Money Show. I will be talking once more about the cost of financial ignorance. Before I get into it, let me introduce myself. For those of you who do not know me, I am your host, Marie-Jo César. I help professional women transform their relationship with money by giving them the necessary financial skill and knowledge they need to take control of their money, manage their finances, and recognize that they can live their best lives with the money they have. Thank you for joining in today. If you are watching the replay, make sure to type #replay in the chat and feel free to leave me some comments and questions. Well, I come to you live every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to share tips, tools, techniques, inspiration, motivation, and to give you valuable information about how to achieve financial wellness and live your life with means and meaning. As you know, or you may know, the Merging Life and Money Show's primary purpose and my very strong why is to empower as many women as possible by sharing what I know about money and finance so that they can live their greatest lives yet. So grab a pen and a notebook because you might want to take some notes and share them and discuss them with family members, friends, colleagues, neighbors, whomever you want to, because it is about sharing value that could benefit others. So if you are listening on iHeartRadio or Pandora or Spotify or any major podcast platform, welcome. I am so glad that you have joined in today. Let's begin. In part 1 of the Cost of Financial Ignorance miniseries, I explained how financial ignorance carried significant costs, and today in part 2, I will talk further about the same issue. The cost of financial ignorance can be the difference between a comfortable life and a miserable life. Therefore, it is essential that you have a good understanding of money and how to use it to your advantage. Unfortunately, many people do not have a good understanding of money, and this can cost them dearly. So let's take a closer look at the situation and explore 3 potential costs of not knowing about money: the emotional cost, the long-term cost, and the financial cost of financial ignorance. Okay, so to give today's show some context, let me start by saying that money is one of the most important things in our lives. And it is not a secret that it can be a touchy subject. For some of us, it is a source of anxiety and stress. For others, it is a source of pride and accomplishment. But no matter how you feel about money, one thing is sure, not knowing about money can cost you emotionally, whether it is the emotional cost of debt, the stress of financial insecurity, or the guilt of not being able to give your loved ones what they need or want. Not knowing about money can take a serious toll on your mental and emotional health. That is why it is so important to educate yourself about money. It is not always easy, but it is worth it. After all, your financial well-being is just as important as your physical and emotional well-being. Now, let's take a look at the first point, the emotional cost of financial ignorance. Well, the emotional cost of financial ignorance is high, and the emotional cost of financial insecurity is often underestimated. While it can be difficult to put a price tag on stress and anxiety, the toll that these feelings can take on your mental and physical health is undeniable. When you don't understand your finances, you can feel anxious, helpless, and worthless. These feelings can lead to depression and other mental health disorders, which can further compound the problem. Financial ignorance can make you feel like you are stuck in a never-ending cycle of debt and despair. You may feel like you are not good enough or that you are never going to be able to get ahead. These negative emotions can prevent you from taking the necessary step to improve your financial situation, and they can also lead you to make impulsive decisions that further damage your financial health. So if you are struggling with financial ignorance, it is important to seek help from a qualified professional, because taking control of your finances is an important step towards improving your emotional well-being. To add to it, when you are struggling to make ends meet, it is hard to focus on anything else. And the constant worrying can lead to sleep loss, headaches, and a general feeling of being overwhelmed. The truth is that women who do not understand money are more likely to experience more anxiety and stress, and they are also more likely to make poor financial decisions. This can have a ripple effect on every aspect of their lives, from their personal relationships to their professional success. So despite all of this, there is some good news, as there are steps you can take to reduce your financial insecurity. One of the most important one is to educate yourself about money. By learning how to budget, save, and invest, you can gain the knowledge and confidence you need to make sound financial decisions and also gain a measure of control over your finances. The fact is that when you feel like you are in control of your financial situation, it is easier to handle whatever life throws your way. So whether you are struggling with money or not, take the time to learn about financial planning, because only then can you take control of your financial future and avoid the emotional cost of financial ignorance. I will end this point by saying, do not let the emotional cost of not knowing about money keep you from financial freedom. Get educated and take control of your finances today. Now, let's look at the second point, the long-term cost of financial ignorance. In addition to the immediate cost, there are also long-term costs associated with financial illiteracy. If you do not understand money, it will cost you big time. And it's not an exaggeration, okay? Not knowing about money is like driving with your eyes closed. You might be able to get by for a while, but eventually you are going to crash. And the stakes are much higher when it comes to your finances. Ignorance about money is expensive. It is very expensive. For example, if you don't understand how interest works, you will end up paying way more for loans than you need to. If you don't know how to invest, you will miss out on huge opportunity to grow your wealth. And if you do not understand basic financial principles like budgeting and goal setting, you will likely find yourself in debt or struggling at the end of each month. And as noted, the long-term cost of not knowing about money can be staggering. If you don't know how money works, you cannot make good financial decisions. Simple as that. Over your lifetime, this lack of financial knowledge could easily cost you thousands of dollars. Therefore, learning about money is crucial. You want to build wealth and secure your financial future. And as noted a few moments ago, it is simply not enough to know how to save. You need to understand how to invest, how to manage debt, and how to make smart financial choices. So without this knowledge, you are likely to make costly mistakes that could set you back for years. I will add that if I were to believe that you did not know how to save or invest, you might end up spending all of your money on things that depreciate in value, like cars and clothes, or you might get caught up in debt that charges high interest rate. Either way, you will end up paying a lot more than you need to for the things you want. Another truth is that not understanding money can also cost you in missed opportunities. If you don't know how to invest, for example, you might miss out on chances to make a lot of money. For example, you might not invest in a company that goes public and becomes very successful. Or you might not buy property in an area that gets gentrified and therefore becomes much more valuable. So although not everyone who doesn't understand money will end up costing themselves a fortune, it is still a good idea to learn about personal finance so that you can avoid making costly mistakes. So the sooner you start learning about money, the better off you will be. So I will end this point by saying that ignorance about money is not bliss. In fact, it makes the stakes can be high enough because not knowing about money can cost you, as I said, thousands or even millions of dollars over your lifetime. So be smart about it. Learn what you can about financial planning, investing, and other related topics, and take action on that knowledge. Now, let's explore, the third and last point for today's episode, the financial cost of financial ignorance. As noted, money is one of the most important things in our lives, but it is also one of the most taboo subjects. We don't like to talk about money, and as a result, many of us remain tragically ignorant about personal finance. And as stated earlier, this financial ignorance can have costly consequences both in the short and long term. Here are just a few examples of how not understanding money can cost you. Overdraft fees. Although most banks are ditching overdraft fees, a December 2021 Newsweek article reported that U.S. banks took in $6.13 billion in overdraft revenue in the first 9 months of 2021, and that was during the pandemic. For those who do not know what an overdraft fee is, when a customer pays or takes out more money than they have in their account, the bank charges them an overdraft fee. So if someone does not have enough money in their bank account, even a $5 purchase could cost them $35 in fees. So if you are constantly being hit with overdraft fees, it is a sign that you need to get a better handle on your finances. Perhaps you need to start tracking your spending so that you know exactly where your money is going each month. Or maybe you need to open a savings account so that you have some buffer room in case of an emergency. Whatever the case may be, taking action now can save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars in fees down the road. Another example is late fees. Much like overdraft fees, late fees can also eat into your finances if you are not careful. Whether it's a late payment on your rent or credit card bill, these fees can quickly add up, and they are often very avoidable. Again, the key is to be proactive about your finances. For example, if you know that your rent is due on the first of the month, make sure you have the money in your account before that date so that you are not scrambling at the last minute and racking up costly late fees as a result. The same goes for any other bills that you might have each month. So by being organized and staying on top of your finances, you can avoid costly late fees altogether. Another example is what I call November and December. November and December are two of the most expensive months of the year. This is because, as you may have guessed it, between holiday shopping and travel costs, many people find themselves trapped for cash come January. If this sounds familiar, it might be time to reassess your holiday budget and see where you can cut back. Planning ahead and being mindful of your spending can help prevent holiday financial hangovers in the future. Another example is impulse purchases. We have all been there, okay? You see something shiny and new, and suddenly you find yourself buying it without really thinking about it first. But what may seem like a small purchase here and there can really add up over time if you are not careful. In fact, Americans spend an estimated $550 billion each year on impulse purchases alone. To avoid falling victim to impulse purchases, take a step back next time you are tempted to make a purchase and ask yourself a few questions. Do I really need this? Can I afford it? Will I use it? And by answering these questions honestly, will help you put things into perspective and hopefully help curb those impulse purchases moving forward. In addition to these examples that I just cited, it is important to note that while these consequences are bad enough on their own, they are even worse for women because women are already at a disadvantage when it comes to personal finance. And one of the most immediate and obvious ways in which financial ignorance costs women is in the form of the gender pay gap. The gender pay gap means that women have less money to begin with, and they are more likely to take time out of the workforce to care for children or aging parents. So this leaves them with fewer years to save for retirement, and it also makes it harder for them to catch up if they do fall behind. According to research from Boston College's Center for Retirement Research, women are more likely than men to experience poverty in retirement. This is due in part to the fact that women tend to live longer than men and are more likely to take breaks from work to care for children and elderly parents, as I noted a few moments ago. This put them at a disadvantage when it comes to Social Security benefits and workplace retirement saving plans. The result of all of this is that nearly half of all women aged 65 and over are considered economically vulnerable, meaning that they are at risk of falling into poverty should they experience an unexpected expense, such as a car repair, a medical bill, or even a drop in income. So clearly, it is obvious that the long-term cost of financial ignorance is high, but it does not have to be. Because by increasing financial literacy among women, we can help reduce retirement insecurities and build a brighter future for everyone. So I am going to wind down some and summarize what I talked about today. So I explored part 2 of the price of financial ignorance, and I focused especially on 3 matters: the emotional cost, the long-term cost, and the financial cost of financial ignorance. Well, as I see it, right, the lack of financial education is a serious problem in the United States, one that comes both immediate and long-term, with both immediate and long-term cost, particularly for women. I will say it again, there is definitely a cost to not knowing about finance. It can be seen in the number of people who file for bankruptcy, in the stress of living paycheck to paycheck, and in the long hours spent working just to make ends meet. My last words for today's show, I promise. All too often, financial ignorance is viewed as a strictly personal issue. We tell ourselves that it is our own responsibility to educate ourselves about financial matters, and that if we don't, we only have ourselves to blame. But the truth is, financial ignorance is not just a personal issue, it is a societal one. And nowhere is this more evident than in the case of women and money. Women have long been at a disadvantage when it comes to financial literacy. And as a result, they are more likely to experience negative financial outcomes later in life. From retirement insecurity to the gender pay gap, the emotional cost of financial ignorance is high. And it is time we start talking about it. So again, please do not let the emotional cost of not knowing about money keep you from financial freedom. Get educated and take control of your finances today. Okay, so as you know, I like to end my show with a quote, and today I chose a quote from Alan Greenspan, And it reads, like all learning, financial education is a process that should begin at an early age and continue throughout life. This cumulative process builds the skills necessary for making critical financial decisions that affect one's ability to attain the assets such as education, property, and savings that improve economic well-being. I will add that, by the way, Alan Greenspan is an economist and a former chair of the Federal Reserves of the United States. This brings us to the end of today's Merging Life and Money episode. I hope that you have enjoyed today's show, and I totally encourage you to watch the replay and make sure to share it with others. And for more information about how to achieve financial wellness from the inside out and live a purposeful life with the money you have, join me next week, Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Atlantic Time, and 10 a.m. Friday, Brisbane, Australia time. Thank you for being here today on the Merging Life and Money Show. I am your host, Marie-Jo César. I will be back again next week. Until then, continue merging life and money. Bye for now.